I'm Wendy, and we're listening to the First Gen Social Workers podcast. Today, I have Ashley Shalife, Program Director for Chicanos Por La Causa, with me, and she's going to talk to us about the CPLC Centro De Familia in Maryville in the state of Arizona. Hello, Ashley. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and journey into behavioral health, and then let's dive into your agency.
Hi, yes, absolutely. So, a little bit about my background is that I began my journey in SMI residential, which is seriously mentally ill, housing treatment centers. And then, after I was licensed from with my master's in professional counseling, I moved on to an outpatient SMI clinic, and the clinic generally offers medication management and case management support. And then most recently, I've transitioned to CPLC doing general mental health, GMH, and we work with adult and youth clients.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the information. So, when beginning this podcast, I would like to talk about your organization's mission statement. So, I understand your mission statement is Chicanos Por La Causa believes that all people, without discrimination, should have the power to live a life of dignity. Our programs work to help individuals and families achieve self-sufficiency by providing accessible healthcare, affordable housing, a quality education, access to meaningful work, and political representation. Tell us about at least one community issue or problem the organization was designed to address.
Wow. Okay. So actually, the organization itself has many different pillars, and each of those pillars address many different areas. The pillar that we are involved in is the mental health one, which is the IHHS, which is Integrated Health and Human Services. One of the areas that our department kind of gets involved in is in the mental health stability area, and we are working towards offering more than just mental health services in-house. We're also working to offer PCP services and kind of learn to address the whole person rather than just the mental health. We do a great deal of community outreach in terms of our food pantry twice a month, which assists the community in areas of nutritional needs. We connect them in any sort of nutritional funding needs that they might have as well. So in our IHHS area, we kind of attack several different areas in several different communities. So we have an SMI clinic, we have our general mental health clinic, we have our domestic violence programs, we have our HIV programs. We also do have a substance abuse program, and we have recently acquired it's like a young women's residential placement, and it offers a school as well. So we are kind of diving into each area of our mission statement, although we're just a small piece because we have so many different pillars that attack the community as a whole.
Oh, wow. Your organization has several programs and services. I believe I heard that CPLC has been open for 50 years. Is that true?
It's been quite a while, yes.
Wow, wow, wow.
And we have expanded extremely within the last 10 years. We're working towards getting into not only Arizona, but we have places in Texas and New Mexico and Nevada. I feel like, don't quote me on this piece because I'm not 100% sure, but I think we're trying to get into like 11 different states, all on this whole west side.
Wow. Okay. And going back into the programs and services, may I ask what populations are served by the organization, such as income, age, people of color, women, persons with disabilities, and the LGBTQ plus community?
All of them.
All of them?
All of them are targeted in one way or another. For our specific department, we definitely work with every single one of those. I mean, we do ages 6 and up. We do any person of color. We do any male or female. Disabilities and LGBTQ, those can get a little bit hairy. However, we still offer the services. And if we feel like they need something that's a little bit more in depth and scope, then we refer them to a resource that we have or a partner that we work with. But in just our pillar itself, it's all of them, all ages. Our De Colores department, the domestic violence program, they work with women and children, and they target kind of that area. And they also help a lot with immigration stuff, sexual assault. Our Lucis department, which they work with a lot of the LGBTQ, well, not just them, but they focus a lot on HIV prevention and awareness. So we hit all of those areas. It's not just one size fits all, and I think that's why our particular pillar is so important, because we do hit every kind of angle that we can hit within the community.
Right, of course. And so then continuing now that we've talked about programs and services, how that addresses community problems, issues, and what population the organization serves, I'd like to talk about culture. So culture includes formal and informal rules of behavior and expectations. So say, I would like to know, for instance, at this specific organization in Maryville in the state of Arizona, how does staff spend their time? Or what
in terms
say, what does a typical day look like, say, for the counselors or social workers within the agency?
So a typical day for the staff here for CDLF is it's highly dependent on the staff and the client care. So because we promote client care so heavily, it could be they meet in person. It could be, like I was mentioning earlier, through telemed. It's a hybrid program. They have scheduling in terms of if they see somebody in the community, if they see somebody in their office, if they see somebody over the phone. We try and be as flexible during our business hours, of course, which are 8 to 5, in terms of meeting the client where the client is at. So if we have a youth client whose mom works until 2 and doesn't get home till 3, and then also has 4 siblings, then we generally try and be flexible in terms of, well, maybe you're a better candidate for a telemed session, unless it's a little, because sometimes the littles, they don't really stay on camera very often, and it's a little harder to get them engaged. But usually it really just entails meeting the client where the client is.
Right. And with that, say, how many caseloads do all of the social workers or counselors get at the CPLC agency in the state of Arizona at the Maryville office?
So at our location, it's kind of hard to say, only because we have some clients who actively engage, and we have some who do or do not engage regularly, some who are on maintenance, some who show up one time and never come back. So we are actively evaluating caseloads based on the client need and how much it impacts the social worker or the case manager or any of the other staff members involved. But for a typical therapist to maintain, it's usually about 40 clients, and that wouldn't be 40 clients that they see weekly. It would be stretched out based on the maintenance pieces or the ones that are seen weekly, monthly. It's kind of dependent on the need of the client. If a therapist has 10 clients that need weekly services, then their caseload might look a little lighter, might look a little different. If they have 20 clients that they see once a month, that would look different in terms of what their caseload size is.
Okay, that does make sense, as caseloads clients are always wavering, and it just is what it is when it comes to who's going to come by, who's not. So thank you for that. Um, the question that I'd like to ask is, what do clients see when they first walk in? Is it an inviting environment? Is it formal? What clients expect?
When you first walk into our particular clinic, it's very colorful. It's very inviting, in my opinion. There can be a little bit of confusion just because of the way that the front is set up. There's two desks, and there's a check-in desk, and then the other desk is used for some of our community partners. So if one of our community partners is at that front desk, they often get a lot of our people first, and they're like, "Oh no, you just got to go a little bit this way." But they would be greeted with somebody who is genuinely happy to see them and not just trying to brush them off. And the first thing they see is color. It's so colorful, and it's very targeted to children.
Wow.
Like if a child walked into the lobby, they would be like, "Wow, this is great. Look how colorful this is." It doesn't look scary. It doesn't look dull. It's not like four white walls and then you're like, "Oh crap, what am I involved in?" It's like inviting because of the comfort and colorfulness, I would say.
No, absolutely. I believe that sometimes organizations forget about the fact, if you are going into a behavioral health organization, the last thing you want is to walk into a white space. It's not inviting. The client is probably like, I feel uncomfortable, and color is very, very important, actually.
I completely agree. It could change the tone of a client's who, especially somebody who's brand new and walks into a place and it's their first time. If I walked into a place and then it was just empty, I would be I would be concerned if I was in the right place or not.
Yes, of course. And continuing into the organization, thank you for that. Does your organization have staff meetings? How frequently? Who attends? And what happens, say, if people disagree? How does that go about?
So for our particular department, we hold two staff meetings a month. They're called our huddles. And during those huddles, it's usually this is what's going on within our department. And usually I will get some involvement. I mean, there's always some people who don't totally engage, but there's definitely some that have questions about the moves we're making, what we're doing, why we're doing it. Um, Safety is something that is often brought up because of the area that we are in. And there's not a lot of, I wouldn't say disgruntledness. There's not a lot of that during our huddles. And I think that's mostly because all of us are constantly communicating about everything. Um, I meet with the staff individually twice a month as well. And usually, if they have a more private concern, that's where we discuss it.
Mm-hmm. And so, is this also the way in which the organization plans projects, or how do you all plan the work for the week?
Um, the week the week is usually very individualized. So if there is a particular situation in terms of community event or a staffing that needs to occur that needs to have multiple people from the clinical team involved, those are usually there's a prep meeting for, and that happens ahead of time. If it's just a standard week to week, what's going on, those schedules are managed by the staff member themselves. And if it includes something that they need some extra support on, then they usually let me know. They're pretty good about that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that in regard to talking about the organization and culture. Um, I'd like to move on to how your organization measures success. So, to begin, what decision-making body oversees their organization? For example, say a nonprofit with a board of directors, a government agency, such as the governor or the city or county level. Um, does the organization have anyone that oversees the organization?
So we are nonprofit and for profit. So we have two sides. Our nonprofit, I believe there has to be a governing board for that. We have a set of pillars, like I was discussing earlier, and my particular pillar is the mental health pillar. So above me, it would be my VP, and then above her is our executive VP, and then above him is our CEO.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, and then in continuing with measuring success, how does the organization measure success? Do you use specific measures? What are they? Does it measure its impact on the community problems?
We have a set of goals and standards that every department is um, required or guided towards meeting. Now, I can't speak on any of the other departments and what their goals are like, but our particular one is guided a lot by the grants that we have. So when we submit for any of our grants, we have specific rules that we have to follow and that we have to make sure that we're taking care of in order to fulfill what our grant needs are. Um, our two grants that we have are dealing with housing and are dealing with mental health training. It's one is assisting people with housing needs, and then the other is assisting people with being able to recognize if somebody is in crisis or if somebody needs mental health resources, the resources we can give them. So the training comes into training staff, training anybody virtually in the community if they wanted to attend, to learn how to recognize those signs.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Um, we're near wrapping up towards the end, and I just have uh, one last question. So, what do you think are the most important reasons someone would choose to work and stay at your organization? And what are the qualifications to work at your organization?
So the qualifications are highly dependent on the position selected.
Mm.
It ranges from, high school to college degrees. The range is huge just because we are so large. The qualifications are highly dependent on each specific position. However, the reasons that people stay, I would say definitely the culture. There's a huge, huge, huge cultural piece within CPLC. And it's not necessarily that it's guided towards the Hispanic community, it's that we're here to offer support to all clients, to everybody who might need that extra support. And as far as staff deciding to stay, I would say that the culture is part of it. I've worked at many places before this. Well, not many, but I've worked at, quite a few different places within the mental health field. And this particular place, I've not had the support from a supervisor the way I do here. She's amazing. So I think that just the culture of supporting each other while we're supporting the community is huge within CPLC.
Right, right, right. Um, well, Ashley, I thank you for your time. I wanted to interview a program director from Chicanos Por La Causa just because I had heard that it is a Latino-based community, but it does serve more than the Latino community. And for anyone listening in on the First Gen Social Workers podcast, now you have a little bit more information about Chicanos Por La Causa and some of what it offers. I definitely recommend you guys to check them out and check out their website. Miss Ashley, is there anything else that you would like to say?
Nope, that's all I got. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview with you.
Yes, of course. Well, that wraps up today's podcast, you guys. Make sure you listen in to next Friday.